Welcome all you guitar nerds out there. On the bench today we have an amplifier made in Germany, an Engl Thunder 50. I couldn't find a lot of information about this device. Even the date of manufacturing is hard to determine. No speaker code, no transformer code, nothing to find in the World Wide Web. Maybe the serial number might help. Let's look at it. 01 are the first two numbers. That could be 2001. Well, maybe. At least we find an information that Horst Lange designed this amplifier. Well, let's see if he did a good job. But let's start with the complaint that the customer has. Well, haven't educated guess. Yes, you're right. We have hum and bass issues louder than the guitar signal. Listen to that. The reason for these noise issues might surprise you. My first bet was on a defective power tube, but no, it wasn't. Even with new tubes, the problem stayed. But look here, the chassis is very touch sensitive, so the problem might arise in the input section. But before we dive deeper, let's examine this beast made in Germany and flip the chassis over. Okay, greetings from the tinkerer. Somebody did something that makes me moan immediately. Look at the pots. All the shafts are cracked off. Only one is still intact. Only stumps are left over. And the way somebody tacked in these HD caps is more than questionable. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. The safety ground looks suspicious too. For safety reasons, I'm gonna solder it directly to the chassis. But why is the tube squealing? Well, let's check some voltages on the power tube socket. Pin 3 plate voltage 435-33 volts. On the other tube the same. That's all right. Pin 4 screen grid 428 volts. So the screen grid resistor should be intact. Pin 5 negative 40 volts. The same on both power tubes. So the BIOS supply works fine. Let's take a look at the input section. Maybe there's a reason for the touch sensitivity. Yeah. The first ribbon cable that connects the input with the mainboard has a cracked solder joint. Here you can see the crack very clear. Yeah, and further down the line we have another one. Look at this. It's cracked too. Here you can see the board with all the ruined parts already removed. I also touched up every suspicious solder joint with fresh solder. Did I already mention that I hate ribbon cables? Well, they are always a source of trouble. And here they are, all the damaged parts, beaten up in Germany. But fortunately, there are complete sets of these available. Well, guess why? Let's press the fast forward button, and here they are. The new pots are installed. Time to fit in the PCB board. By the way, in the background you can see that I replaced the HD caps and I secured the new one with some silicone. The customer did not send the chicken head knobs with the amp, so I cannot show you the original look, but all the pots are now brand new and ready to rock. Well, the customer did not send chicken head knobs, but he did send a complete new tube set. So let's check the bias. The tubes are conducting, but, well, more than 55 milliamps, 56 milliamps, that's way too hot. So the next thing to do is we have to set the bias to an average value. A look at the schematic shows us two trim pots on the PCB. There's a hum balance pot to balance the heater voltage, a nice option that Engl provides. The other trim pot is, of course, the bias pot. And here they are on the board. Hum balance pot on the far left, bias pot on the far right. Okay, let's set the bias. With a plate voltage of around 430 volts, I want to bring the bias down to around 38 to maybe 40 milliamps. I'm sorry for the poor camera work, but it's not easy to poke around in the amp with a screwdriver and keep the camera still with the other hand. The tiny little trim pot is very sensitive, so I have to turn counterclockwise very carefully. Alright, it's coming down. $41, $44. Alright, just a little bit less is good. 39. Yeah, that's what I want to see, around 38 to 40 milliamps. After the tubes burned in for a while, we finally have this reading, 39, 38 milliamps. That's pretty perfect. The tube said that the owner provided included a Chinese tube labeled as V1. That suggests this tube should be quiet, noise-free, good for the delicate position in the first gain stage. But listen to that. This sucker is noisy as hell, not a V1 tube at all. It even transferred the noise down the line. So I swept it with a Softec 7025 and ta-da! The noise is gone. It's plain to see how important it is to put a good quality tube in the V1 position, especially in high gain amps like this one. But how about our noise issues? Let's see. Let's check the noise level with nothing plugged in. All the knobs turned up. Well, you hear nothing, right? Okay, just a little hiss. Well, that's it. This repair was successful. Well, time to plug in the guitar and check the noise level again. Before we do some more sound examples, I want to get back to Horst Langer, who designed this amp back in the 90s. I don't want to dog nobody, but dear Horst, why did you put the PCB board upside down into the chassis so that nobody can see or reach the components? And man, the poor solder joints gonna be a weak point in the future. But dear Horst, you did one thing right. Listen to the sound of this Engl Thunder 50 made in Germany.